All right, let us begin. So we are, Eretz Hashem, going to begin today with the Sados. And in fact, interestingly enough, we're going to see a little bit of a Tu B'Shvat carryover from the last year into this year. And in Eretz Hashem also we're going to see some pieces that we referenced last semester as well. So let's begin, number one. Sados Omrim. The fields say, Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz, konein shamayim bisvuna. So the fields say, let's just literally translate the pasuk. Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz. God founded the land with wisdom. Konein shamayim bisvuna. He established the heavens with understanding. So what I'd like to really focus on, what's really going to be the thrust of our probably next two classes, is, remember, as we've spoken about this entire time, being that this is our first class back with Perek Shira, so just to remind ourselves a little bit, the entire essence of Perek Shira is, entire essence. I'm sorry? There's more than meets the eye, excellent, there's more to life, there's more to ourselves, there's more to the world than we understand, and remember, the whole idea is that we are to learn from nature. That is the whole essence of Perek Shira, that there are lessons to be learned in the natural world. Again, as I referenced in one of our earliest classes, the Rambam brings down this, already codifies this concept, independent of Perek Shira, that if you want to come to an appreciation and a love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so you need to look at the natural world. Look at the natural world and you'll see the awesomeness of the Ribono Shalom. So Perek Shira spells out these lessons. Every part of nature conveying a lesson. Who is the lesson for? Us, right? Obviously the lesson is not, and of course Perek Shira is not literal. It's not literal. Whether the fields talk, don't talk, B'Pashtos they don't talk. But again, this is the message which can be gleaned ultimately again from the natural world. Everything good? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So the Sados, their message is Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz. Hashem created the world with wisdom. Yes.
I have a question not related to this.
Sure.
Like going back to the first class and we learned all that like the Saria when you say Perek Shira, like just curious, is there like a specific time that we used to say it?
So it's interesting that some say that the inyan for Perek Shira is Dafka Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos. I'm sorry? Along with Shir Hashirim, so you really need to be ready by Chatzos. You know, that's, I've seen it, the two approaches I've seen is that there's an inyan to say Perek Shira every day, and Erev Shabbos. But again, But I can't tell you why that is. In other words, I don't particularly understand. Remember, the whole notion of saying Perek Shira in general is a more esoteric idea. So what the nature of those two times are, I don't know. I would venture to say, to me, if a person is going to say Perek Shira, I think the more meaningful way to do it is maybe to do a smaller part every day while actually trying to internalize the lessons. I mean, part of what we're trying to do in Eretz Hashem is to figure out what is the message of Perek Shira. Because the truth is, you read through it, you know, Perek Shira is much like Tehillim. You could read through the entire Sefer Tehillim and have absolutely no idea what you read. Now, does that minimize the impact of it? Not necessarily. Meaning the power of Tehillim, we know, is that it's tefillah. Tefillah could be powerful even if you don't know what it is that you're saying, but it's so much better if you know what you're saying. So again, I think if a person is mamish wanting to say Perek Shira, if it was me, I would say a little bit every day with a focus of trying to understand the particular message that each part of nature is trying to convey. But again, to answer your question, I've seen it Erev Shabbos every day. All right. So now the question I'd like to focus on is, what is this wisdom of the fields? Right? The Sados say Hashem created the world with wisdom. Yes.
Did we ever answer how come during Perek Shira when there's quotes that are after Tehillim?
No, we didn't get to that yet. In Eretz Hashem, we're going to get to that more when we study the second Perek of Perek Shira, which hopefully will be in a couple of weeks in Eretz Hashem. So the Sados say, Hashem b'chachma yasar aretz. Hashem created the world, or created the aretz, created the earth with wisdom. So let's analyze. We're going to spend probably today and Monday in Eretz Hashem analyzing what is the wisdom of the earth. Remember, I also want to point out that we're going to see in Perek Shira there appear to be like a number of things that may look redundant and a little bit repetitive. Like, for example, we're going to make a distinction between the rivers and the well springs. We make a difference between the aretz and the sados. Because remember, again, from Perek Shira's perspective, each of these the aretz represents earth, the sados represents the field. Well, you can make the cogent argument that obviously the fields are part of the earth. But you see, Perek Shira tries to be very specific in its journey through nature. And that's because, again, Perek Shira operates with the idea that every part of nature, every subset of nature, has its own unique message. Yet, you see over here that when the Sados are speaking, their message is Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz, which is interesting. Hashem created the aretz with wisdom. The fields are part of the aretz, and therefore the fields speak of the wisdom of Hashem's creation. Wherein lies the wisdom of Hashem's creation of the earth? So let's analyze this a little bit. If you take a look at Rashi, remember again, we're quoting over a pasuk from Mishlei. So Rashi says, over Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz, al pi Torah. So first of all, what is the wisdom we are referring to over here? The wisdom we're referring to is the eternal wisdom, Torah. V'hi Torah, v'hi svuna, v'hu adas, v'achar shakala olam nivra bahem lekach. So Rashi understands Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz really means two things. It means Hashem created the world with wisdom and for wisdom. With wisdom and for wisdom. With which wisdom did Hashem create the world? Torah. This goes back to the Mamar Chazal that says, Histakel ba'oraisa ubara alma. That Kiviyachal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the architect doesn't build from memory. The architect opens up his plans and he builds from his plans. So too the Ribono Shel Olam looked inside the Torah Kedosha and went ahead and built the world from Torah. Built the world from Torah. So therefore, says Rashi, now this wording is very interesting. Al Pia Torah, right? So Hashem built the world based on the blueprint of Torah, and ultimately again, v'achar shekala olam nivra bahem likach. And the world was also created for Torah. What does it mean the world was created for Torah? I'm sorry? Okay, but what does that mean? Right? So it could mean the world can't exist without Torah, but does that sound like what it's saying? It's saying, right, then say the world, we know, we have other statements that say the world can't exist without Torah. Shosha dvar ma'olam omeid. There are certain things with which to but what does it mean the world was created for Torah? I'm sorry? So we should keep it. Now let me ask you, based on that, should the world exist? Right? It doesn't seem like we've satisfied that metric. Right, the world is not keeping Torah. Most of Klal Yisrael is not keeping Torah. That's just the reality of the times in which we live in. So what does it mean? Now, it could mean in a utopian state.
Just because the world is not to its full potential doesn't mean that it exist.
Say that once more.
Just because the world is not to its full potential doesn't mean it shouldn't exist.
But if
the full potential of the world is that we should keep the Torah, just because we're not.
How many times throughout history has the majority of the Jewish people kept the Torah? Good little Jewish history lesson here.
It's like people who don't fulfill a potential still exist also.
No, I understand. I'm asking you just the definition of the statement. If you say that Torah, the world was created for Torah, so then what does that mean? If it's to keep Torah, then why would HaKadosh Baruch Hu create the world for a purpose that's never going to be fulfilled?
Even one person keeps it. That's
Okay, so is that what it means? The world was created even for one person to keep Torah. Okay, good. Again, understand, I'm just getting you to try to think about what the statement means, because why would HaKadosh Baruch Hu create for a reason that is never going to materialize? Is it ever going to be that all of Klal Yisrael keeps the Torah? I'm sorry?
I think it could mean that for even one person.
So good. So that's a beautiful explanation. That could be that maybe what it means is HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a platform ultimately, again, for Torah to be observed. Whoever wants to take advantage of this gift should take advantage of the gift. Halavai should be many people, but even if it's not many people, quote unquote, that's okay as well. You understand? I mean, okay in quotations. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, that's why I created it. It's here for the taking. If you want it, then it's all yours. What else could it mean?
So why would we get punished for not?
I'm sorry?
Why would we get punished for not keeping it? It was a platform that was optional.
Because well, it's not really optional. In other words, remember, it's obligatory. We're talking a little bit about two sides of our mouth here, meaning it's obligatory, but at the same time, the existence of the world is not predicated on all of us doing the right thing, which is part of the Chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Shalom says, of course, you have to do this, but if you don't do it, the world will continue to exist. But what's the purpose of creation? For you to be able to do it. Any other thoughts? What else can I mean? The world was created for Torah.
Maybe to learn Torah?
Okay, what do you mean?
Because no one learns Torah.
Oh, I didn't know where that voice was coming from. Good, okay. Go ahead.
Well,
I can't see who that was on here.
no.
Abigail, go ahead, I hear you.
Oh, I just said that if no one would learn Torah, the world would cease to exist.
Oh, beautiful. So maybe, again, what it's just saying is if you want to know why the world exists, perhaps it's the schus of Talmud Torah. So once again, it's not really predicated on a lot of people or a few people. It's just predicated on someone. Obviously, the more people that do the right thing, of course, that's always better. But the world runs, the battery of the world, so to speak, is Torah. Good. Any other ideas? This is an incredibly important idea because at the end of the day, we're getting to the very essence of life. Right? So what does it mean the world was created for Torah? So remember again, what I want to point out to you is what's unique about this statement of Rashi. What doesn't Rashi say? Right? Rashi could have said, the Beis Medrash was created for Torah. Rashi could say, Eretz Yisrael was created for Torah. But yeah, what does Rashi say? The world. Which tells you, remember, we've spoken about this many times. Torah, we have to be careful never to define Torah in a limited capacity. Right? Torah doesn't just mean what we're doing here, learning. Right? Torah doesn't just mean, this, the Gemara. Right? Torah means a way of life of Avodas Hashem. Right? What is the entire purpose of life? I'll tell you something amazing, just to illustrate this. As we get to the entire purpose, see, you thought you were just showing off our Perek Shira. Little did you know you were going to get the entire purpose of life in the first 10 minutes of class. So listen to this. We begin Shmona Esrei, right? The Bakasha section of Shmona Esrei begins with what? Atachoni la'adam das. Atachoni la'adam das. So why do we begin the Bakasha section of Shmona Esrei with a request for knowledge? So you can't... Is that true? I know a lot of people who are very successful and have very little das. Okay, so meaning you can make a lot of money without chachma, bina, and das.
You can win the lottery.
I'm sorry, you can win. This is 100%. Any of you don't win the lottery. There are plenty of people. I'm sorry.
Someone's not considered a success when they win the lottery. Right.
Who cares? They won the lottery, right? Baruch Hashem, they have what they need. But my point just is, you can get ahead in many areas of life without really a lot of seichel. The world is filled with people like this. But at the end of the day, what I want out of life, what do I want? I want to know that I am fulfilling the Ratzon Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a will. Right? Now that will sometimes is explicitly articulated. For example, Taryag Mitzvos is an explicit articulation of divine will. But then there's also something more nuanced. And it's what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want from me? What does he want from me in this world? What does he want from me in my life? To borrow the words of the Ramchal, Ma chovasi ba'olami. What am I supposed to do? So I say, Atachonin la'adam das, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I need you to give me das. Now listen to this, because I want to know what I'm supposed to do. Now, not only do I want to know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm going to dive into you for a whole bunch of things. Right? I'm going to dive into you also for a lot of gashmi things. Right? I'm going to dive into you for health, physical health. I'm going to dive into you for parnasa. Why am I davening for these things? I'm davening for these things because I want to utilize the gashmias I have in this world to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem. We've spoken about this concept as well. That is why Judaism's view on materialism is really pariv. It depends what you do with it. Right? If a person amasses wealth and they fulfill the Ratzon Hashem with that wealth, fantastic. A person acquires wealth and they use it to create a divide between themselves and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's terrible. So wealth itself, like a lot of other things in this world, is pariv. Everything depends on how you use it. So Rav Shlomo Zalman actually brings down this idea. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I daven atachonin la'adam das, because I need two things. I need the intellect to know what you want from me. What is the Ratzon Hashem? And then once I know what the Ratzon Hashem is, all the other things I'm davening for, all the Gashmi things, I can use in that direction. It's a twofold prayer. That's why he's actually talking about why Ata Choni La'adam Das is the first bracha, the first bakasha. See, he says, because I need to know, right, we daven for refuah. What are you davening for refuah for? For what? What do you want to do? You're davening for parnasa. So what am I davening for parnasa for? Well, I'm asked for brachas. Have the Gemara is like people say like the Chashbro, give for what? What am I using it for? So give me atachoni la'adam das. Give me the wisdom to understand the Ratzon Hashem, and that way again, Ratzon Hashem bigadol and bifrat, right? In a general sense, and for me specifically. And then, when I ask you for all the other stuff in life, I'm going to know what exactly to use it for. So when Rashi says over here, and again, and Rav Kook, I'll tell you one more piece. Rav Kook actually takes this a little bit further, and Rav Kook says something so beautiful. He explains, well, let's see Rav Kook afterwards. So Rashi says over here, Sha'achar shakala ala nimra bahem lekach. What is when the world was created for Torah? Everything we have in this world can and is to be used for some higher purpose. That's our goal. That's our goal, what we call Kiddush HaChomer, the sanctification of the material. You see, it's interesting, and it's always intrigued me that when we say Havdalah, we say Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. So that statement means that in life there are two states, there are two categories. There's Kodesh and there's Chol. But what's really my avoda? That everything should be Kodesh. Now, some things will be more Kodesh, some things will be less Kodesh. Right? No matter how great I make my Wednesday, it's still Wednesday. It's not going to be Shabbos. But it's interesting because it's almost as if we live in a state that there are certain things that are holy, certain things that are mundane. Whereas my essence, my core avoda in this world is to bring out the Kedusha even in the Chol. Even in the Chol. To take even the most mundane things and try to find something holy in it. The Kiddush HaChomer. So perhaps when Rashi says that the entire world was created for Torah, everything that all of you suggested was absolutely correct. Right? An opportunity to learn Torah, world is sustained, right? Opportunity for people to learn, live Torah, the world is sustained through the merit of Torah, all correct. But perhaps what Rashi is also saying is something much more profound, which is the world was created for Torah means everything in this world has an underpinning of Kedusha, of holiness. You just sometimes have to use your life wisdom to figure out how to extract it. Some things are obviously holy, and some things dwell in the realm of nuanced holiness. But whether the davar ha'olami is obviously holy or nuanced holy, my avoda in this world is to realize that there is Torah in it and to bring out the Kedusha. So again, according to Rashi, Hashem bechachma yasar aretz means Hashem created the world with Torah and for Torah. For Torah meaning that to find the Kedusha in everything in this world. That is my avoda. It's true, it's all of our avodas. Again, we each have unique nuances in that, but that is our avoda. If you take a look at number 3, so there's actually a beautiful Gemara in Meseches Smachos. So interestingly enough, what does Meseches Smachos talk about? Take a wild guess. Good. You would think Simchas actually talks about Avelos, right? It's all dedicated to the laws of mourning, right? And so again, it's a euphemistic title, right? Often the same way the Gemara, when it's referring to people who are blind, often call them Saginar, people that see very well, right? An effort to, just like the Gemara doesn't call a Chazar, Torah does it, right? But again, whenever Chazal usually refer to a Chazar, they usually refer to a Davar Acher, something else. There's an idea of trying to be careful with ultimately, again, one's words. Or Behema Shar Einenu Tahora, same idea. So look at this. The Gemara number 3 says as follows: Hashem Echachma Yasar Aretz Konishem Besuna L'Amdecha. This is so beautiful, and along the same lines, Shekishabara Kadosh Baruch Hu Salamo. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world was created just like a baby in utero. What does that mean? Ma yilod isha maschil mitiburo umusach lekan ulekan laarbas tzedadav. Just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he went ahead and he created, when a child is being formed in utero, right? So remember again, the fetus begins to form, right? The fetus is attached to the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord is attached to the navel of the baby, and the baby grows out from there. So just like the baby expands out from its center, so too again says the Gemara something so beautiful. Kach hischil HaKadosh Baruch Hu livro es ha'olam mi even shesia u'mikodesh hakadoshim. This is so beautiful. Where did the world begin from? The world began from its center. And what's the center of the entire world? The even shesia, which is the foundation stone, right? Which is considered to be, in the eyes of Chazal, the first piece of matter, of tangible matter in this world, and mikodesh hakadoshim, from the future site that'll be the kodesh hakadoshim and the Beis Hamikdash. Umimena hush sas ha'olam, and from there the world expanded out. Lekach nikreis even shesia shemimena hischla kodesh baruch hu libra salamo. So again, in the Maseches Smachos, so Hashem b'chachma yisar is a little bit different. What do you mean b'chachma? There was a wisdom. Now, what was the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world? There was a seder. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create the world? In other words, remember, if you look at creation in general, how does creation usually happen? Not a trick question. Just Bereshis Perek Aleph. Right? So, right, how does creation happen? Stages, true. But how does HaKadosh Baruch Hu create any one particular thing? Vayomer Elokim Yihiyar and Vahiyar. Instantaneous. It's interesting that what the Gemara is describing over here is a non-instantaneous creation. In other words, how did Hashem create the Aretz? How did Hashem create the Aretz? According to what we just read over here. How did HaKadosh create the Aretz? Right? From a seed, right? And in stages. It started with the Even Shesia, then into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Then I guess if you were to continue this, Yerushalayim, Eretz Yisrael. I mean, it must be Lakewood after that, right? Wherever, right? And slowly but surely, right? Again, everything begins. So why? Why? Everything else is created, almost everything else, not everything, but almost everything else is, Vayomer Elokim, let it be, and it's done. So why is Eretz created gradually? What would you say? What's, and again, remember, I want to point out, the Gemara is saying, this is the Hashem b'chachma. What was the chachma of the creation of the Eretz? The fact that it was created gradually. What's the chachma? Let me ask you this question. What's the fundamental question on the entire Bereshis story? Fundamental question. Why is it included? Remember again, the Torah is not a storybook. The Torah is a book of laws, morals, ethics, ideals. If it's not a legal idea, a moral, ethical idea, it doesn't belong in the Torah. Does anyone understand the story of creation? No. We could rattle off whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu created on the 7 days of the 6 days of creation. But we don't understand that. We don't understand Yeshua something from nothing. We don't understand what it means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in a day, what that means. Time is a human construct. It's not, God is not limited by time. There's so many things that we just don't understand. What was the world? What's tohu vavohu? Even those words astonishingly empty. What does that mean? So we don't understand it. So if we don't understand it, why is it here? Let's walk through this. Why, if we don't understand it, why is it here? Remember, I just want to point out, the Torah is the Torah. Torah shebichsav, chamisha chamishay Torah. Is Torah esoteric body of wisdom? Listen, it's a 50-50 chance, right? Right? The answer is no, not really. Right? The Torah was given to us to be a workable Torah. Can you delve down into more esoteric levels? Of course you can. But when you look at Chamishe Chumshe Torah, they're made to be user-friendly. It's made to be understood. It's made to allow us to live our life. But I can only use it as a guide to live my life if I understand what's written inside of it. So, obviously, the Bereshis story is there for some purpose. What's the purpose? So good. First Rashi to tell us Eretz Yisrael Lazar is good. Although one could argue that, how could you have accomplished that? Right. Somebody just said, you just say that Eretz Yisrael is ours. In other words, you could just actually write that line in there. Right? And you don't have to go through an entire story that nobody really understands. Good. What else? I'm not, sorry? Schav Onesh from where? From Adam and Chava, you're saying? Good. But again, so how would I answer that? Skip. Right? Go to that story. I'm good with the story of Adam and Chava is filled with life lessons. Skip the whole Genesis narrative or pick up with day number 6. Say a lot of stuff happened on days 1 through 5. We're going to pick up on day number 6. Good, absolutely. Why else? So why is the creation story there? Obviously, there's a lot to learn from it. Excellent answer. Wonderful. You should be a politician, Amir Hashem. Right? So good. Right? So think about this for just a moment. So the Svarim bring down something incredibly profound. The Torah HaKedosha tells us how Hashem built His world so that we can see how to build ours. Kadosh Baruch Hu shows us how He built His world so we could learn how to build ours. Because the truth is we are all creators and we are all builders of our lives and of our worlds. And at the end of the day, how do you know how to build your world? Where the amazing part is, Kadosh Baruch Hu said, watch me. Watch me. Right? Now, again, are we going to, as Kadosh Baruch Hu said, you're going to understand every step of my building process? No, you won't. But will you be able to glean some incredibly important lessons for building your own world? Absolutely yes. So when you look at the Genesis narrative, right? When you look at Maaseh Bereishis, what you're supposed to look for are lessons in building your personal world. So there are a lot of lessons. According to the Gemara over here that we just read in number 3, what's an incredible lesson that you could learn about how Kadosh Baruch Hu built His world? Nothing's instantaneous. This is incredibly important. Now, nothing's instantaneous, but yet, what happened on day number 1? Instantaneous creation. Even leaving the aside the world, let's use light. Like we just said, Vayamar Elokim Yehiyar, Vayihiyar. So I'll tell you something amazing, what the Torah is really sensitizing us to, is the only being in this world who can create something instantaneously is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Only the Ribono Shel Olam has the power of instantaneous creation. When man wants to create something, the only way for man to create is in stages, gradations, and over time. And perhaps that's what the Gemara, that's what Kadosh Baruch Hu was modeling for us. Kadosh Baruch Hu could have created all of the Eretz in the snap of a finger, or in a mamar, just in a statement. But instead, first is Evan Shesiyah, then Kodesh Kadoshim, and then whatever the subsequent steps were after that, to show us that if you want to create something in this world, don't expect immediate gratification. Don't expect instantaneous results. To accomplish and to build requires step after step after step. And this is, all of this is an incredible piece. So we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu could create instantaneously, but He models for us that that's not the case. And by the way, this becomes an ongoing metaphor. And let me ask you, if you go step after step, are you guaranteed success? No. In fact, there's an incredible medrash. It's actually a startling medrash. The medrash writes that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu created tens of thousands of worlds before us, and none of them worked out. He destroyed and started again. What does that mean? So Rabbi Soloveitchik discusses this. He says, what does that mean? You want to tell me that I start a project and I can't get traction on it, so I have to start again? That's fine. Kadosh Baruch Hu, what does it mean? He created tens of thousands of worlds, destroyed them and started again. Once again, it's not because Kadosh Baruch Hu can't get it right on the first time. Of course He can. He's modeling for us how to build our worlds. And a lot of times in life, you have to start and stop. And the thing that you built, not good. And you have to find the courage to start over again, because sometimes like you build something and it's there and it's built, but it's not the right thing for you. Or it's not the thing that's going to advance your life agenda. Or it's not the thing that's going to allow you to fully self-actualize. And sometimes in life, just like you have to have the courage to build, you also have to have the courage to destroy. Sometimes in life you have to, just like Shlomo HaMelech says, What's the lashon? Eis lata'as ve'eis la'akor natua. I think that's lashon of Koheles. There's a time to plant, and there's a time to uproot that which you planted, which is interesting because the Vilna Gaon brings down, shouldn't it say there's a time to plant, and then what would be the opposite of that? Time to harvest, right? Plant, harvest. Shlomo Melech was saying something much more profound. There's a time to plant, but sometimes in life you plant things, and you realize that what's growing, it's not the right thing. You tried to plant the right thing, it's not the right thing. 9 out of 10 times in life, when people plant something and they see the wrong thing is growing, what do? They just leave it alone. Oh, I already planted it. I'm so tired already. I tried. It's okay, right? And if you look at it like this, it's actually really straight, right? Or if you just stand 10 feet away, it's mamish perfect. Or if you just don't look at it, I can pretend like it's not there. So sometimes, like, you have to have the courage to uproot that which you planted because it's the wrong thing. Sometimes you create something, and when you created it, it was right, but it just didn't turn out the right way. And so you have to have the courage to kind of destroy it, so to speak, and start again. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu models that for us, these 2 dramatic lessons. Number 1, do not expect instantaneous results in life. Sometimes we approach life with this mindset that if you're doing the right thing, everything should fall into place. And we often think this, right? If I'm really fulfilling the Ratzon Hashem, I'm really doing the right thing, everything should work out. And then when it doesn't work out, it's not right. That's not true. By the way, where's the raya for that even if you're doing the right thing, it's still not easy? I'm sorry? The Avos lives. That's an excellent example. Or the truth is, it's actually, if you look at the life of almost any great person, all great, right? It doesn't. It's the Avos, it's the Imos, it's Moshe, it's Aaron, it's David, all the Yishbizin, right? It's everybody, right? Everybody, they encountered such ridiculous children. In fact, I'll share with you, there's an incredible and beautiful idea by the Kutzker. The Kutzker says after the Akedah, so after the Malach calls out, Al Tishlach Yad Chalanar, Hashem tells Avram Avinu, don't do anything to Yitzchak. So what does the pasuk say? Avram sees Ayil Ne'achaz B'Svach B'Karnov. He sees a ram caught in a thorn bush. What does Avram Avinu do? He goes and he offers it up as a carbon. So the Kutzker says something amazing. The Kutzker says, why did Avram offer up a carbon? Hashem just told him he doesn't want a carbon. Maybe what Hashem meant was he just doesn't want any karbanos at all. So why did Avram offer up the ram? So listen to what the Kutzker says. It's so sweet and so amazing. The Kutzker says, if the ram would have run up to Avram Avinu's feet and laid down by his feet, he wouldn't have offered it. But when he saw that the ram was stuck in the thorn bush, you ever try to get a ram out of a thorn bush? Either have I, but I would imagine it's not pretty, right? In other words, right, you have to get into the thorn. So what's going to happen? You're going to get cut, and you're going to bleed, and it's going to be uncomfortable. When Avram Avinu saw that to get to the ram involved struggle, he understood that was the Ratzon Hashem. Because wherever there is struggle, there's always Kedusha. So sometimes when something just shows up, ram just shows up and lays down at your feet, that's Ma'aseh Satan. Right? That's not. But when he saw that the carbon ultimately, again, required struggle, that's where there's Kedusha. So again, what I'm pointing out over here is the Gemara tells us, yes?
Sorry.
Wait, give me one second, let me just finish this thought, then I'll take your question. So again, to go with the Gemara, just to close out this piece. So when the Sados say, Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz. What's the chachma? The chachma is incremental, gradual steps. Nothing is created instantaneously. Nothing is created overnight. Everything requires multiple steps. Be patient in the actualization of the creation of your life edifice, of your life structures. Even HaKadosh Baruch Hu can create instantaneously, chooses not to create instantaneously. It's a model for us that as we build our worlds, it takes time. Everything meaningful in life takes time. And by the way, even if you take your time, it may not work. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created many worlds before ours, destroyed them all because they just, as they say, zelo ola. It's just not going. It's just not moving forward. So things are gradual, and sometimes you see things aren't going right, and you have to have the courage to deconstruct that which you constructed and begin again. That is the chachma, says the Gemara, ultimately of the Sados. Yes?
So, it was someone said that whenever there's struggle, there's kedusha, but how do you know, that it's Ratzon Hashem?
That is the $1 million life question. Well, let me ask it a little bit differently. Sometimes in life you hit a brick wall. How do you know when the brick wall is a message from Hashem to say, wrong direction, rerouting, right? Turn you around the wrong way, versus Hakadosh Baruch Hu saying, try harder. You're much younger than me, so hopefully you're going to figure this out. By the time you get, but that you're right. That is the $1 million question of life, because you're saying good, meaning sometimes struggle is where Hakadosh Baruch Hu says, wrong direction. You're doing the wrong thing. You hit the brick wall. That's the simon. You need to turn around. New world. And sometimes it's like, no, you have to climb over the wall, or you have to find a way around. Knowing which is which is one of the hardest things. And by the way, atachonin la'adam das. Now, this is exactly what we daven for each and every day. Hakadosh Baruch Hu, life is so confusing because we all hit brick walls, and that moment of cheshbon hanefesh, do I need to try harder or try something else? There's no one answer for that. That requires an incredible amount of introspection, an incredible amount of just self-awareness and self-knowledge. But the question is an excellent one. The answer is simple. That's life. That is life. The answer is, what you described is exactly the challenge of the human condition. There's another question? I'll also mention something else, by the way. Oh, someone's in the waiting room. Okay. Thank you. I feel better. They've probably been there for a while. Okay. So I'll also mention just something else along this same motif, which is really something quite interesting, which is that if you notice, by the way, right, last week's parasha, last week's parasha, and the parasha Yisro was the Torah speaks about the Mizbeach. So the Torah says that when you construct the Mizbeach, how do you get up to the top of the Mizbeach? A ramp. Now, interestingly enough, why a ramp? Why the ramp? So the Torah says because there's a din of tznius in the Kohen, that when he walks, he should be tzanua. Now, obviously, Rashi already points out there's no part of the Kohen's body that's actually exposed when he walks up the ramp, but obviously there's a message of tznius in there. So it struck me that if you look at it, the Torah has, when it speaks about ascent, getting somewhere, the Torah has two models, right? There's the ramp model, and the other model we saw was by who? Excellent. By Yaakov Avinu, right? And in his dream, there's a ladder. See, interestingly enough, what's the difference between a ramp and a ladder? Thank you, right? Very good, right? On the technical level, one is like that, one is like that. Excellent, good.
Like run by run versus if you don't go up, you're on that.
So good. Oh, right. A ladder could also be slanted, right? So without getting into the technicalities of which position, I think to build on that a little bit, I think here's the difference. If the ramp is slippery, it's very hard to gain traction. You pretty much fall back. You fall back. There's nothing when you talk. See, a ladder. See, both the ladder and the ramp really represent the same yesod, which is you got to go up gradually, right? As opposed to a stair, as opposed to a step, where when you step up on a step, there is a you've gone up. You could climb up onto the mizbeach directly. A ladder and a ramp are both gradual. Ladder, generally, could you fall off a ladder? Of course, chas v'shalom. But the truth is, there's a much better way to anchor and steady yourself on a ladder. Versus a ramp, you could just very easily slide off that. And it's almost as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the message is the same, which is the message of Maseches Smachos, that life has to be gradual, building gradual growth. But what the ramp also prepares us for is that sometimes you could be doing everything right, but you still slip back. The nature, and by the way, there's no ladder in the Beis Hamikdash, right? There's only a ramp. And remember again, the whole point to enter the Beis Hamikdash, right? The Sefer HaChinuch brings down, why was there a mitzvah aliyah l'regel 3 times a year? Halavayil bizoch emeretz Hashem bekarov. Why is there a mitzvah aliyah l'regel? So I'll take something. You know what the Sefer HaChinuch says? You know what the Sefer HaChinuch? So for simcha, but why else? I'm sorry? Kirva, although remember, I want to point out, that's always a very dangerous thing, because do I need to go to the Beis HaMikdash for Kirvas Elokim? No, this is the... So the Sefer Hinoch says something amazing. He says you go to the Beis HaMikdash to learn from the Kohanim and from the Mikdash. Incredible. This goes back to the Mishnah of us that says, Asara Nisim, there were 10 miracles that happened inside of the Beis HaMikdash. Why do I need miracles in the Beis HaMikdash? Those miracles were life-teaching lessons. Chash Baruch Hu conveyed lessons to me through those miracles. When you went to the Beis HaMikdash, you went for one reason and one reason only. To learn from the Kohanim, who are supposed to be like the role models of Kedusha, and to learn from the actual way that the Beis HaMikdash was structured. From the miracles, and from the things you saw in the Mikdash, there were life lessons to be gleaned. So it's amazing. What did you see when you came into the Mikdash? I mean, not immediately when you came. You see this beautiful, massive copper Mizbeach, the Mizbeach HaChitzon, that was used for animal sacrifice. And remember, you see this huge ramp. And when you see that ramp, there's this incredible life lesson. Life is a ramp. You cannot get from the bottom to the top in one stride. You cannot get from the bottom to the top instantaneously. And not only that, I'm sure there was a miracle that nobody ever slipped off the ramp, but people did push each other off the ramp, but that's a different discussion, right? But ultimately you could slip down a ramp, because such is the nature of life. Growth is incremental, building is in stages, and sometimes you do all the right things, but you still slip back down the ramp. The goal in life is to find the courage ultimately to get back up, to rebuild even that which you rebuilt was destroyed. And therefore the Maseches Machos is telling us, the Sados tell us, Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz. The wisdom of the earth is HaKadosh Baruch Hu created His world in a way which gives us the wisdom to teach ours. So we end off with Rashi, with the Maseches Machos, two different interpretations of the Chachma of the Ribbono Shel Olam as manifest in the earth, and the Eretz Hashem will continue down this journey on Monday as well.